You like politics? I love them. I fucking love them. In video games, and when they are not imported from our world. But so few games know how to do them right. In fact, only one Temple game so far has managed to do just that. However, that is no longer the case, for there is another. Today's segment spotlight falls on the Landsmeet. When a tainted horde consumes the kingdom, When a tainted horde consumes the kingdom, those few with true power gather to decide its fate in a Landsmeet. The Tern, the Arl, and the Warden. The Landsmeet shows audiences and creators alike the importance of a battle of words, not swords. By Temple tradition, definition comes first. As the name implies, a battle of words, not swords, is an intentional pattern interrupt by the creator. The Murder Hobo Fest is interrupted to force the audience out of their comfort zone. However, not at the expense of immersion. It is usually done when a character has achieved a certain level of influence in the world. Influence rightfully earned that can now be exerted via words in a satisfying manner. Finally, it tests the audience and the main character in a refreshing way that hopefully helps them view their character and the world from a different perspective. Alright, enough with the theory. On to the fun practice. So at this point in Origins, you've already murdered your way into commanding 3 separate armies. You got the support of one of the most powerful men in the country, and you're literally at the throne to the realm. A lesser game would have just been like, okay, time to murder Loghain in an epic boss fight and get to the final boss. But Dragon Age Origins is different. Yes, you will eventually have a chance to fight Loghain, but before that, BioWare realized how satisfying it would be to destroy his power base and verbally abuse him in front of the nation's nobility. You take out his slavery-funded operation, you take out his right-hand man, and if you're playing a human noble like I am, you exact vengeance for your family at the same time. That was for the Kooslands, you sleazy bitch! Finally, you can even turn the man's own daughter against him. I fucking love it. You can also be the best wingman for your boy Alistair, even though he doesn't appreciate it. So with all that satisfying dismantling done, you finally go to the palace, ready for the verbal dance to decide the fate of the nation. But before you step into the throne room, you see that Loghain left one last obstacle in your way. Sir Cothrian, the commander of his armies. Now you can begin the battle of words right here in this hall, persuading her to back down. However, I really want that sword she has, so... Alea iacta est.
My lords and ladies of the Landsmeet, Tyrn Loghain would have us give up our freedoms, our traditions, out of fear. He placed us on this path, yet we should place our destiny in his hands? Must we sacrifice everything good about our nation to save it?
I think it was a very good choice that the Landsmeet has already begun by the time you enter. This way you have no idea what you are walking into, or what kind of highly intellectual, big brain argument will be thrown at you before you even have a chance to speak.
Ah!
You know what, Loghain? I was going to forgive you for Ostagar, but now I'll kill you just for that jump scare. Anyways, once our Lehman is done softening up the crowd, the floor belongs to you and Tern Loghain. No swords, no spells, just a battle of words. There are multiple ways you can go about dismantling Loghain, and it depends on what you feel most confident attacking him on. Considering that the entire south of Ferelden is getting berserked, it's always a safe opener to remind him, and more importantly the entire Landsmeet, of that undeniable fact.
There are enough refugees in Mybanor now to make that abundantly clear.
The south has fallen, Loghain. Will you let Darkspawn take the whole country for fear of Orlais?
Taking into account that in my last video I stated that I understood Loghain's retreat from a tactical point of view, as really Kaelin's charge is just objectively moronic, I chose not to call him out on Ostagar. That would be unnecessary, as I do have a nice letter here confirming Loghain's involvement in the enslavement of elven citizens.
What's this? There is no slavery in Ferelden! Explain yourself!
There is no saving the alienage.
Quite a bad look for a supposed freedom-loving general of Ferelden. He, of course, hits us with the classic, "I did it for the good of the realm." And that's where my persuasion skills kick in nicely. Well, if the good of the realm is all you care about, I have Merrick's cheese-loving, lamppost-licking bastard son right here.
I'm not stupid, am I?
Shut up, Alistair. Loghain then decides to go hard, as he sees the room swinging in our favor.
You took my daughter, our queen, by force, killing her guards in the process. What arts have you employed to keep her? Does she even still live?
It's a good move, I admit. Being accused of kidnapping someone's daughter never looks good. Unfortunately, he wasn't aware she found a new daddy in the meantime.
Lords and ladies of Ferelden, hear me. My father is no longer the man you know. This man is not the hero of Riverdane. This man turned his troops aside and refused to protect your king as he fought bravely against the Darkspawn. This man seized Kaelin's throne before his body was cold and locked me away so I could not reveal his treachery. I would have already been killed, if not for this Grey Warden.
Well done, my dear. Loghain then tries to appeal to Ferelden patriotism and his former status as a rebel general as a last-ditch effort to win the room. However, I'm confident in my diplomatic victory because the game gave me a clear path to get there. First, I made Loghain look like a paranoid loon, unable to see the real threat. Then I showed a freedom-loving nation that their favorite general is a slaver. When he got all "for the realm" on me, I showed he had way more personal ambition than he liked to admit by not supporting the previous king's son. Finally, by convincing his own daughter to roast him before the Landsmeet, taking away the last shreds of credibility he had with the nobility, there was really only one possible outcome.
The Warden! I'm with the Warden. Southreach stands with the Grey Wardens.
The Warden helped me personally in a family matter.
Waking Sea stands with the Grey Warden.
Dragon's Peak supports the Warden!
The Western Hills throw their lot in with the Wardens. Make her help us.
The Temple Legends stand with the Wardens.
I stand with the Warden. The Blight is coming. We need the Grey Wardens.
Now at this point I have to give Simon Templeman massive props, as he just steals the scene with his performance.
None of you deserve a say in what happens here. None of you have spilled blood for this land the way I have. How dare you judge me?
But no amount of good voice acting can get him out of this. Now I personally would have preferred the interaction with Loghain ended here. A battle of words ended in words. But I get it, it's an action RPG, and I would be lying if I said that dueling Loghain before the nobility of Ferelden isn't cool. However, like I said, very few games know how to do this segment properly, so keeping it combat free would have worked better long term, I think. He's a tough old bastard, I'll give him that. But I've faced werewolves, demons, undead, fucking dragons, and reaction YouTubers. So the outcome is inevitable. After this battle, the penultimate decision of this segment is upon us. Now I expect that there will be a good deal of people who will disapprove of this decision, and I get it. In fact, I'd like to hear your argument against it in the comments below. However, I'm already going to piss off Alistair by giving him his own kingdom and a hot wife, so sparing Loghain would be too much. Also, I can't really get that last tragic look of Duncan's out of my head. Finally, to my fellow human noble enjoyers, I'd just like to remind you that Loghain supported a man who said this.
Your parents died on their knees. Your brother's corpse rots in Ostagar, and his brat was burned on a scrap heap along with his Antivan whore of a wife.
By the way, so glad that Fergus is shown to be alive in the end, just to make Arl Ho's failure complete. Anyways, with all those arguments supporting my decision, you know what must come next. Maker Honora, you could have at least moved further back. So, with Tern Loghain dealt with, as the arbiter of this dispute, we decide the fate of this kingdom. Alistair as the cheese-loving leader, and Honora as the hot queen ruling in the background. The best of both worlds, and a fantastic conclusion to this iconic segment of the Landsmeet. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Even if you don't like Alistair, please don't pick Honora to rule alone. Just trust me on this, there are horrible repercussions down the line if you do so.
Before us stands the might of the Darkspawn Horde. Gaze upon them now, but fear them not, and never a more glorious Grey Warden has there been. Today, we save Denerim! For Ferelden! For the Grey Warden!
Yeah, I'm with the Archdemon on this one. So, with this great gameplay segment covered, we move on to its wonderful lessons. As always, the best way to understand these lessons is to start with the right, universal questions. Where in my story can I place a good, dialogue-based pattern interrupt? What kind of satisfying verbal takedown options can I provide my audience with? Finally, how can I make the impact of this segment clear to the audience? For example, as we mentioned, placing the Battle of Words at a point when the main character has amassed a great deal of influence is a pretty safe bet. It can be when you gain too much power as a representative of the law, when your actions draw the attention of a powerful group of people, or when you obtain a position of major power. Now this is where the universal part of the advice ends. Sadly, due to a lack of visual or audio elements, novelists are pretty restricted when using this narrative tool. Screenwriters and game designers, however, have additional options. For example, playing with the senses of the characters, putting one character at a clear disadvantage during a dialogue-heavy segment, or having a frail character gain the upper hand can be more satisfying than a million filler action scenes. Game designers, you should focus most on the second question regarding verbal takedown options. Giving different options of verbal attacks based on events in the game is a great way to do this, as seen in the Landsmeet. The most optimal way to do this, however, is to align those different options with a variety of soft skill checks that reflect both the player's class and chosen speech style. Sadly, the Landsmeet segment drops the ball in this regard, and is inferior to the trial sequence of Neverwinter Nights 2. Wait, don't dislike, let me tell you something. I'm not saying the Landsmeet segment is bad. I'm just saying it did not utilize its full potential like Neverwinter Nights 2 did with its trial sequence. In the Landsmeet, you basically have persuasion, maybe intimidation, and that's it. In Neverwinter Nights 2, look at the options. Oh my god, it even has a taunt option. Lastly, I'd just like to add some universal warnings to all creators. The Battle of Words has to have a proper ebb and flow, push and pull. You can't just have your opponent be a strawman buffoon that is only there to be humiliated so the good guys look more competent. No, true satisfaction from a Battle of Words comes from beating a worthy opponent, who ideally has some good points. For example, I can't really fault Loghain for retreating from Ostagar, given how much of an insane tactical disadvantage Cailan put his forces in. So rather than attack him on this front where he would have the upper hand, I am forced to think and choose a better point of attack, and thus I am more engaged in the moment. Also, this goes without saying, but please test the quality of your dialogue and if it matches the tone of your story before you make a Battle of Words.
Nah, they were doing it. Oh, they were absolutely doing it.
So in conclusion, one strong, fine-tuned and well-timed dialogue segment can be an incredible asset to your story, and even make combat or a subsequent conflict more satisfying as a nice bonus. Temple Legends. I made a mistake in my last video. I said this was the last part of Origins we have to cover, but playing the Landsmeet reminded me of the sheer awesomeness of the Denerim March that comes after. So in the next video we'll be marching to the capital with our gathered army. Now for those new to the temple, you may remember me saying in the intro, the Landsmeet shows audiences and creators alike the importance of a Battle of Words. You would be completely justified in wondering why non-creators have to learn these lessons. The logic, however, is simple. The creators learn the theory and then how to apply it in practice. The audiences just have to learn the theory. Mainstream creators have failed us. All of the popular IPs have been burned to the ground. And the desire to inspire with storytelling has been replaced with a desire for short-term profit. Our way back is through knowledge and support of those who are truly trying to improve the quality of stories we tell ourselves. So please, Temple Legends, what I need you to do is simple. Identify, appreciate, and support creators who apply lessons like these in their work. Identify a Battle of Words, not swords. Appreciate the different challenges the creator gave you through various dialogue options. And finally, support them so stories like theirs become the norm, not the exception. Let's go to the temple bar before you depart. I'll buy you a drink. Now, with the second temple semester underway, I just wanted to say how grateful I am for each and every temple legend that reached the end of the video. I am grateful for beautiful comments like these and harsh but fair critiques like these. I shall strive to improve and be worthy of your love and support, my temple legends, so that one day we can use the temple to its full potential, as well as its dormant functions. The battle for the temple's future continues. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, as it helps with the upkeep of the temple, and helps those who are still climbing find their way here. Have a safe path down the mountain, and I'll see you next time in the temple.